This first clip from William Barr today in announcing the report. Rod Rosenstein looks like he has been shot with embalming fluid standing behind him. Let's play this.
In assessing the president's actions discussed in the report, it is important to bear in mind the context. President Trump faced an unprecedented situation. As he entered into office and
I'm sorry, just to be clear here. This is his response on obstruction. Now, the obstruction is going to be extremely controversial because when I read to you the part in the report when they talk about obstruction, it is quite clear that Robert Mueller anticipated the question of obstruction heading to Congress. But here is Barr talking about apparently intent. And I'm not quite sure how Barr divined intent, because we know that Mueller never had an opportunity to interview the president, and he, in the report, says the questions were not sufficient, that were written questions were not sufficient. But go.
In assessing the president's actions discussed in the report, it is important to bear in mind the context. President Trump faced an unprecedented situation. As he entered into office and sought to perform his responsibilities as president, federal agents and prosecutors were scrutinizing his conduct before and after taking office and the conduct of some of his associates. At the same time, there was relentless speculation in the news media about the president's personal culpability. Yet, as he said from the beginning, there was in fact no collusion. And as the special counsel's report acknowledges, there is substantial evidence to show that the president was frustrated and angered by his sincere belief that the investigation was undermining his presidency, propelled by his political opponents, and fueled by illegal leaks. Nonetheless, the White House fully cooperated with the special counsel's investigation, providing unfettered access to campaign and White House documents, directing senior aides.
I just want to be clear here. He's not reading from the report. He is just basically functioning as a political commentator. He is deciding that the White House fully complied. But Mueller does not say that. They did not sit down for an interview.
This sounds like it was written by Sarah Huckabee.
Honestly.
This is like the way in which Trump's language gets into everything, even like the most well-spoken amongst them.
Relentlessly speculated.
The no collusion, I'll read you what it says about collusion here. In evaluating whether evidence about collective action of multiple individuals constituted a crime, we applied the framework of conspiracy law, not the concept of collusion. In so doing, the office recognized that the word collude was used in communications with the acting attorney general confirming certain aspects of the investigation's scope, and that the term has been frequently invoked in public reporting about the investigation. But collusion is not a specific offense or theory of liability found in the United States Code, nor is it a term of art in federal criminal law. There's no reason why the attorney general should be using this word. For those reasons, the office, this is the special counsel, focus in analyzing questions of joint criminal liability was on conspiracy as defined in federal law. Continue.
The White House fully cooperated with the special counsel's investigation, providing unfettered access to campaign and White House documents, directing senior aides to testify freely, and asserting no privilege claims. And at the same time, the president took no act that in fact deprived the special counsel of the documents and witnesses necessary to complete his investigation.
Pause it. The president maligned those people in public who were cooperating with the special counsel.
Rats.
Manafort's a brave guy for lying to the special counsel, pretending to be a cooperating witness. Wow.
Complete his investigation. Apart from whether the acts were obstructive, This evidence of non-corrupt motives weighs heavily against any allegation that the president had a corrupt intent to obstruct the investigation.
There is no official mechanism in which Bill Barr determined there were non-corrupt motives in this obstruction. There is not a single document. There is not a single written word. There is not a single report from an interview that would suggest that Bill Barr has any official way of knowing there were no non-corrupt motives about obstruction. That's just a lie. That's just a lie. That's just made up. Whole cloth. Let's talk about obstruction. The office learned that some of the individuals we interviewed or whose conduct we investigated, including some associated with the Trump campaign, deleted relevant communications or communicated during the relevant period using applications that feature encryption or do not provide for long-term retention of data or communications records. In such cases, the office was not able to corroborate witness statements through comparison to contemporaneous communications or fully question witnesses about statements that appeared inconsistent with other known facts. Accordingly, while this report embodies factual and legal determinations that the office believes to be accurate and complete to the greatest extent possible, given these identified gaps, the office cannot rule out the possibility that unavailable information would shed additional light on or cast in a new light the events described in the report. There's not enough information because people hid their tracks. Continue. All right, let's go to the next one where he talks about
Yes.
Or did the special counsel indicate that he wanted you to make the decision or that it should be left for Congress? And also, how do you respond to criticism you're receiving from congressional Democrats that you're acting more as an attorney for the president rather than as the chief law enforcement officer?
Special Counsel Mueller did not indicate that his purpose was to leave the decision to Congress. I hope that was not his view, since we don't convene grand juries and conduct criminal investigations for that purpose. He did not. I didn't talk to him directly about the fact that we were making the decision, but I am told that his reaction to that was that it was my prerogative as Attorney General to make that decision.
that never came up. From the report, and do we have that thing where he says, like, this is not why you go to, you have, at one point, Barr says, this is not why we don't send this to Congress. This is not why we have grand juries and whatnot. But you have the Mueller report saying, first, a traditional prosecution or declination decision entails a binary determination to initiate or decline a prosecution. But we determined not to make a traditional prosecutorial judgment. The Office of Legal Counsel found that the indictment or criminal prosecution of a sitting president in the capacity of the executive branch to perform its constitutionally assigned functions in violation of the constitutional separation of powers. In other words, okay, so the special counsel Mueller did not indicate his purpose was to leave. I hope this was not his view because we don't convene. He says this. I hope that was not his view because we don't convene grand juries and conduct criminal investigations for that purpose. However, in the report itself, it says, given the role of the special counsel as an attorney in the Department of Justice in the framework of the special counsel regulations, this office accepted the OLC's legal conclusion for the purpose of exercising prosecutorial jurisdiction. And apart from the OLC's constitutional view, we recognize that a federal criminal accusation against a sitting president would place burdens on the president's capacity to govern and potentially preempt constitutional processes for addressing presidential conduct. Okay. In other words, we did not bring an obstruction charge because we accept the OLC's view, the Office of Legal Counsel's view, that a criminal accusation against the sitting president would place burdens on the president's capacity to govern and potentially preempt constitutional processes for addressing presidential misconduct. What is the constitutional processes for addressing presidential misconduct? It is Congress investigating and deciding whether they're going to impeach. So, this is the part that's really going to nail Barr. That's really going to be highly problematic, because the report absolutely says, doesn't say the words, because we're giving this to Congress. It says, we're not going to bring a criminal charge because it could potentially preempt constitutional processes for addressing presidential misconduct. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. That's going to be rather damning.